What's going on, sports fans? This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Coming to you live from WTV 10 with another Friday Roundtable. We're going to start this beautiful night off with some crucial MLB news. Is that right, Mr. Lavalette?
Yes, we are. Months after ESPN initially opted out of the remaining 3 years of their current MLB contract, we now know that ESPN will air 30 MLB games, primarily in the summer months, including the Little League Classic. They will add getting the rights to MLB.TV and 6 teams that have their in-market streaming through MLB. Just you know that T-Mobile will still keep airing it for free. But in addition, 2 games will be on Netflix, and the Home Run Derby, involving the opening night game between the Yankees and Giants in San Francisco and the Field of Dreams game in Iowa between the Phillies and Twins. Those will be exclusively on Netflix along with the Home Run Derby. But in addition, NBC is getting back into constant MLB coverage for the first time since the mid-90s, even the late and playoff coverage since 2000, as they will air Sunday Night Baseball, rounding out the Peacock's Sunday Night Sports schedule comprising now with Sunday Night Football and basketball coverage from the NBA, as well as Sunday leadoff games airing at around noon to 11:30. Those will mainly be on Peacock, but also on the revived NBCSN. And in addition, they'll have a full of the games on Sunday, July 5th on Peacock, with NBC airing the Sunday leadoff game and then the 13 games in a whip-around format, and then the Sunday night game. What this means is that NBC, like I said, they have basically an entire 50 years worth of sports programming on Sunday nights now. And that's even without worrying about things like the Olympics, for example.
All right. A couple of thoughts to begin here. One, really good job by the MLB to lock down that deal with ESPN, because that's huge in the fact you want to cover your bases, lock things down. All right, you got ESPN back for another few years. So that's a good move on the MLB's part. And secondly, oh boy, watch out, everyone. NBC, they're coming back. And in more particular, watch out for NBC Sports. They are rising from the ashes like a phoenix. And getting a deal to have some baseball games to start for NBC Sports Network, that's huge for them. That is a huge way for them to mount their rally back from the ashes.
Yep, we lost that channel back in 21 with the loss of NHL coverage, but to now have that back is pretty impressive as a way to shoutcast stuff on Peacock. But it's a win for all, and if you're a Tigers fan, you don't have to really worry that much about the Netflix games. Neither of the 2 games I listed have the Tigers, although there were some rumors of the Phillies facing the Tigers in Iowa for the Field of Dreams game. That's not happening, but you might have to worry if a member of the Tigers, like Torkelson, makes it to the Home Run Derby. So for that, you might need Netflix to see that. But still way, way, way too early to talk about who's making the Home Run Derby.
That for sure. And then kind of going off what Tyler said, it's not like every single game is going to be on Netflix or Peacock. Just a select number. And you know what? Hey, as long as the Cubs aren't on Peacock or even Netflix, okay, we're good here. Although I do kind of have a Netflix subscription, although I just don't really use it these days.
Well, to be fair, like I said, the Cubs aren't also on now. I imagine you'll eventually be getting Peacock, the NBCSN revived on Hulu Live. It started on YouTube TV and will eventually work its way onto other systems. So anytime you might be on Sunday Night Baseball or Sunday Leadoff, you'll still be able to watch them, no problem.
It's good to hear. And again, I guess maybe, all right, I'll make a joke about this, or a little small joke. I guess this whole lead off about games now going on to like Peacock and Netflix. I guess maybe that's a reminder that to myself, Jake, you need to work on your biggest weakness as a sports fan. You need to be watching more baseball. You need to be paying more attention to baseball. And this is your warning right here, because games are going on to these smaller platforms like Peacock and Netflix. So,
not to mention Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV. I heard rumors back in August that was not leaving. Nope, that they're still good for 28. Now, it should be important to note that Fox and TBS, they still keep their packages intact. I forgot to mention that NBC will air the wild card round that ESPN used to air. But what this means is that come 29, MLB's wanting a shakeup on various local rights and the national rights as well. So we're just getting warmed up for what could be a huge shakeup in the broadcasting landscape. So that's something to really keep your eye on as we get towards the end of the contract in 28.
yeah. So Tyler was just saying it. Big shift coming. But for the time being, us baseball fans, if you're a baseball fan, you're feeling pretty good. MLB right now, in terms of broadcasting, it's in pretty good shape, keeping its usual networks, and also expanding at the same time and not going too fast with it, slowly but surely. I mean, Tyler mentioned Apple TV. There'll still be games there, and you'll have games on Peacock as well as then 2 games on Netflix. So the MLB, they're trying new things. All right, they're moving towards the future, but they're not going. What I like is they're not going too fast. They're taking it 1 year at a time and just one little week at a time, if you want to call it that.
Heck, I remember when they had games on Facebook and YouTube, of all things.
I forgot. I remember the YouTube part, but I'd forgotten all about Facebook. Sorry, man. But in all seriousness,
Yeah,
now,
that was just, wow.
but the fact that the MLB, you can watch games from a lot of different places, this is good for the sport. All right, this is a sport that hopefully they don't. This is another reason I'm hoping they don't have a lockout, because you got all these networks that can cover the games. They might have to bear some of the financial losses if not only we get a lockout, but it's a lockout that ends up persisting for quite a while.
Let's just hope we don't get that get games affected. We got lucky last time. But anyway, what's cool about getting NBC back was that they had the longest running relationship with MLB going back to even when TV began in 1939, a doubleheader of the Cincinnati Reds and then Brooklyn Dodgers aired on the NBC on 2X experimental BS, which became WNBC New York, and they first aired the World Series in 1947, 2 years after the war ended. MLB has had that that historical relationship with NBC. Now, granted, like I said, Fox still has the World Series, so it's not like NBC is going to add to their history of airing the Fall Classic. But come 29, things could change. We could have the World Series split among multiple networks, a la the Super Bowl.
Yes, indeed. So I guess you could say one upcoming question is, you could say this: the future is coming for the MLB, and the question, as Tyler mentioned, 2029. Question is, as we approach 2029, which networks are going to be in the future of the MLB and which are not? That remains to be seen. The good news is the MLB, they're doing a great job taking small but efficient steps towards the future while also covering all their bases. First, second, third, home base.
Yep.
If you want to pull it like that.
Exactly. And if I'm an NBC affiliate and in one of the markets where I can at least when I have an opportunity for a Sunday night baseball game in the summertime, like here in Detroit with your Channel 4, get ready to have the local exposure.
Ooh, booyah. And you know what? I'm really excited about, to a degree, I'm actually excited for the MLB's return to NBC and to NBC Sports. And there's one reason in particular. This is going to be, a little out of the blue, but I cannot wait to listen to what the music, like the music that NBC is going to bring to this broadcast.
I mean, heck, they brought back Roundtable Rock for their basketball coverage, and that NBA coverage has been great. I watched a few of it, and MLB's really done a good job on that. I cannot wait to see what they do for the NBC for MLB coverage. Should be interesting to watch next March when the Dodgers and D-backs start their coverage.
I can't wait. Like addition to the music, graphics, every little speck and nook and cranny and detail, I'll be paying attention to when I watch baseball on NBC. I can't wait to see what it all looks like when it all comes together. So it's good. Really exciting times, really, for the MLB. Nice to see them, keep hold of what they have for now and also add some things to build towards the future. Really, MLB, good job. Can't wait to see what the future looks like and can't wait to see what next year looks like in terms of broadcasting quality.
We got 4 months to worry about, to speculate and hope and figure out who's going to be doing what for the studio coverage and the game coverage, so we got time.
Oh, yes, we do. All right, we're going to shift gears now, and or we're going to get the pigskin or the football ready. So me and Tyler, you know us. We got to talk about the Bears. We got to talk about the Lions. That's just how things are.
Yep.
All summer long, it was baseball. It was the Tigers and the Cubs. Now we're kind of like, now we got to talk about the Lions and the Bears. So that's how things are working these last few weeks.
Absolutely.
We'll start with the Lions first, though.
Seriously, I did not expect them to have such a dud against the Eagles, but that's just how the way things go. And to lose the lead in the NFC North to the Chicago Bears, seriously, who had that happen? Now we got a chance against the Giants. Unfortunately, no Sam Laporta for the rest of the season. But on the other hand, Jackson Dart is out, and with Jameis Winston, we might be getting some of those fresh turnovers that he is supposedly known for, if you catch my drift.
So for those of you who do not know, no, seriously, okay, you can say this is a joke, but in some cases it's not really a joke. There's a bakery, and it's now moved to New York. It's called Famous Jameis's Bakery, where the star of the show is those fresh turnovers, and they are delicious if you're Jameis's opposition. So
Seriously, I want a feast.
Thanksgiving. So this weekend, Lions taking on the New York Giants. Great opportunity for the Lions to bounce back. They're going to have to do it, as Tyler mentioned, without Sam Laporta, who's out for the season after having season-ending injury. Or surgery. Now,
surgery.
Gosh, what is wrong with me? So he did have an injury, but he had surgery to have it taken care of, but he's going to have to sit out the rest of the season. But as the things stand right now, the Lions, not only did they lose the lead in the NFC North to my Chicago Bears, of course, but the latest playoff projections say they would be out of the playoffs at the moment, which is not good. But the good news is, Lions fans, there's still a long way to go. There's still a lot to decide. Mm-hmm. Plenty of games for the Lions to get things right. The NFC playoff picture is just nuts right now. Like, everything is so close. I mean, San Francisco right now holds the 7th seed, which is just crazy considering how many of their Warriors have fallen in battle due to injury.
Crazy.
Isn't that right? So,
and heck, the Carolina Panthers are leading the NFC South. Who had that team leading it?
Yeah, I most certainly did not. The Panthers have a chance to make the playoffs. That is impressive considering, I mean, they're maybe not the most complete team in the NFL, but you know what? They are playing above their level right now, and give them credit for it. They win. Atlanta scored a nice victory in overtime, and I was talking about the Buccaneers for a while. I'm praising how Baker Mayfield had been looking, but recently it looks like the Bucs have just kind of gotten themselves in a rut or in a bit of a predicament that may keep them out of the postseason this year. Crazy stuff.
We still got all of December, though, so anything can happen.
Yes, indeed. And since we're on the subject of Lions and Bears, so the Bears, as Tyler mentioned, for the time being, hold the NFC North with a record of 7-3. You know what, sports fans? I didn't see that coming either. I thought the Bears would at least somewhat improve this season, but they've improved enough to be leading the division. That is crazy. And what's even more crazy about it is they've come really close to blowing a lot of games this season, only to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat at the last second. And you mean to tell me this team that somehow that is made up of cardiac kids, or call them the cardiac bears if you want them, is leading the NFC North? This is bonkers, and I like it. Oh my goodness. What the NFL is just so the NFL's a mess this year. Or at least the playoff race is a mess this year. It's crazy. You would have thought somebody had a few too many beers, and someone when they were making this, or if you believe in script writers, the script writers had too much alcohol, and now they put together a script that makes no gosh darn sense.
Okay, here's another part that makes no gosh darn sense. Let's look at the AFC. A, who had the Patriots coming back to leading the AFC East? And B, who had the Kansas City Chiefs on the struggle bus at playing around 500 and not even leading the AFC West, having that going to the Broncos instead?
Wow.
Like, seriously, who had that happening?
I certainly did not. I thought the Bills would be in command of that division by this point, but here we are. The Patriots, man, they look legit too. Like, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contending team, but they are easily in the playoffs and probably a strong contender for the AFC's number 1 seed. And then, as Tyler mentioned, the Chiefs. I don't know what to make of them this year. 5-5, and questions about whether. And here's the thing about. You could say the AFC West is caught up with the Chiefs, and it's a possibility the Chiefs may not even make the playoffs as well. Like, their final stretch, it's not the most difficult of all NFL teams, but they got to play the Colts, the Titans. No, not the Titans. Colts, Texans. And then you got the Chargers and the Broncos each one more time. That's not going to be – that's kind of a tall order for a team that's – I mean, the defense has been doing well enough for Kansas City, but Patrick Mahomes has had to carry this offense. And, it makes you start to wonder, is Andy Reid at the point of his career where maybe he's – coaching-wise, he's run out of steam, and he's looking to retire very shortly. And then, speaking of retirement, you got guys like Travis Kelce. Kelce has been in a bit of a decline, much of a decline this season, and it would not surprise me if this is his last season with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, maybe he had long-term plans when he proposed to Taylor.
That could be. Maybe this was his farewell tour in the NFL, and it just hasn't really gone as he is expected. He's been on the struggle bus all season. Oh my goodness!
Makes you wonder if he's a bit too distracted on wedding prep.
Yeah, too much of the goal. I mean, he's looking forward to his next golden era. Then in that case, so it's funny. Me and Tyler Lavalette, we came to talk to you about the Bears and the Lions, and then we decided to talk about this whole playoff picture because it is absolutely crazy. So
it's going to get getting crazier and crazier as we get into December, but also it's going to get a lot more clearer as more teams clinch their spots. So it all works out in such a beautiful mess that seems chaotic, but is organized quite nicely into that 4-month stretch between early September into late December, early January.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? The Bears may be leading the division at 7-3, but you know what? This recipe for being like the cardiac or comeback kids, it's not going to be sustainable forever this season. Keep in mind, the Chicago Bears, they still got 2 matchups with the Green Bay Packers, and their last game of the year of the regular season, it's at home against the Detroit Lions, and that could be a battle for the NFC North. One never knows. So there is still a lot of football to play. The Bears, you know what? They got to keep taking care of business. They got to keep winning football games, and all right, we got to do better than just, coming from behind and almost blowing games. We got to keep our foot on the gas. If you're the Chicago Bears, keep playing good football. Keep playing good offense. Keep playing good defense. Ben Johnson, he's in a rhythm as a play caller. Caleb Williams, he, like I said, if there's a way to win these games, he will find it. But I just would like to see him be more consistent throughout the full 60 minutes. And if you're the Detroit Lions, you got to go win as many games as possible. Can't have any more losses like that. And, say what you want about the Lions. Say what you want about what happened in the Philadelphia game. There was a controversial call at the end of the game. But, of course, there's also Dan Campbell turning too much into Dan Gamble in that game. So, Dan Campbell, he's got to be smart the rest of the season. And the Lions, they just got to go win the games you can, control what you can. Go out there and just, you just got to play like your playoff life depends on it. Oh, wait, that's right. Their playoff lives depend on it greatly.
Yeah. Hopefully the game against the Giants goes a little much better. Then you got the Packers who, you lost to against in week 1, but they're behind you in the standings, tied with that tie, and you got the Vikings on Christmas Day as well, and like Jake mentioned, the Bears. That's our time to be determined.
Yep, and the Bears, they can't mess around. We got they got to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, like back-to-back matchups with teams from Pennsylvania for the Bears. Got to take care of the Steelers. They might be without Aaron Rodgers this upcoming game. Got to take advantage of that. And then you got the Eagles on Black Friday. That is going to be a brutal matchup. You've seen what that defense could do. So Caleb Williams and that offense for the Bears cannot mess around in that game.
And, of course, the final home game for the Lions of the season is against those Steelers. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens if Aaron Rodgers plays in Detroit one final time. Yes. 10 years after his Hail Mary throw broke hearts in Detroit.
Yes, indeed. So much to be determined in these critical weeks going end of November and going into December and January. A whole lot of football to be played.
And there's one golden rule yet we all need to know about. Don't get eliminated.
Woo! That's the rule from a specific show, but that's something that Urinating Tree puts in his videos.
Yep, and it's appropriate.
And now, sports fans, we go to the college side of things. We're shifting football, switching out the NFL football and putting in the college football because to give you guys an update, before me and Tyler forget, we will not be in the studio this upcoming Friday because it is Thanksgiving, and the studio crew is also taking a much-deserved rest, so we will be off this upcoming week. So with that in mind, we are going to talk about Rivalry Week in college football, and we got some big matchups, including the one that they call the game.
Absolutely, Michigan versus Ohio State. Ohio State may be doing good in the Big Ten, but they've got that huge chip on their shoulder, knowing that they have not beaten that school up north at all this decade when you factor in no game in 2020 and losing 4 in a row since. The Buckeyes are really going to want to try to get that monkey off their backs. We'll have to see what happens when they play at noon next Saturday in the Big House.
For sure. Of course, last season, that embarrassing loss to Michigan was the very thing that you can make the case propelled Ohio State to that national championship run. But obviously, the Buckeyes, they don't want the same thing again. They don't want to lose to Michigan ever again. And Ryan Day most certainly does not want to lose to Michigan ever again. Here's the thing. What's there to gain for Michigan, though, you might ask? Presuming Michigan can take care of business this weekend, and then the next, they play Ohio State. If they can win that game against Ohio State, it's quite possible there's a path to the playoffs for the Michigan Wolverines. They could get there. They're ranked 18th right now, but if they can win this weekend's game, and if they can actually, once again, upset Ohio State again, there's a chance they make the playoffs because they would have beaten the number 1 team then in the nation. And that win alone, combined with some others that they have on their resume, may very well be enough to get them in as, say, a lower seed in the 12-team college football playoffs. So a lot at stake, not just for Ohio State, but perhaps even more for Michigan.
That it is, and of course we got some good in-state matchups like Georgia Tech, Alabama, Auburn, various matchups in North and in the Carolinas as well. Oh, I'm not sure if Oklahoma State are still playing against each other, but there's some rivalry is just fun. In the last week, you get matches in collegiate stadiums, barring those that host the first round of the playoffs, that is.
For sure. I want to take a closer look quickly at the Iron Bowl, as they call it, between Alabama and Auburn. So, Alabama, okay, this is their second year under Kalen DeBoer. But here's the thing. They're going to be playing an Auburn team that I think is going to be desperate. So, if Alabama loses this Iron Bowl, they're out of the playoffs again for the second year in a row. And Alabama fans are going to get those pitchforks and torches ready, and they're going to storm. You could say that they're going to storm right to Kalen DeBoer's house if things go really, really south against Auburn. Although Alabama looks like a better team this season, but cannot underestimate this Auburn team, especially in a rivalry game such as this.
That you cannot. And meanwhile, if that were to happen, if they do not make it, the rest of the college football world within the SEC and outside of it will definitely be rejoicing, knowing full well about all the times the college football national championship in the 14 playoff era was Clemson versus Bama.
Yeah, I'm with Tyler on this one. I would be laughing my butt off if Bama misses the playoffs again. Truth be told, other matchups that you want to keep, that we're going to keep an eye on, the Egg Bowl too, between Ole Miss and Mississippi State, another rivalry. Ole Miss looking to secure their spot in the playoffs, and if they can take care of Ole Miss, they're in. I believe they are in for sure.
Mississippi State.
Sorry, if Ole Miss takes care of business against Mississippi State, I'm confused. I missed the mark, Mississippi. I'm sorry.
Oops. I mean, come on. The only time you're going to see your team Ole Miss playing Ole Miss is the spring football game.
Yeah. So to correct myself, if the Rebels can take care of the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, they take care of business there. I think they're in the postseason for the first time under Lane Kiffin. And then I want to keep one other team to keep an eye on, Notre Dame. They don't really have a rivalry game this upcoming year, although they are playing Stanford, who was a longtime rival of theirs. Their last two games, they got Syracuse first and then Stanford on rivalry week. You take care of business in those two games, then Notre Dame if Notre Dame can take care of those two teams, take care of business, they should be in the playoffs, even despite the two going 0-2 early on the season, although those were two losses against two very good teams. And then I got to mention this one. I don't want to talk about it because Purdue has had a really rough season, but I'll mention it. It's the battle for the Old Oaken Bucket between Indiana and Purdue. Indiana looking to get to the Big Ten Championship for the first time ever in the program's history, and Purdue looking to play spoiler. We'll see what the odds are there. I mean, the game is at Purdue, but here's the thing. If Purdue can somehow, against all odds, if they can find a way to wreck Indiana's season by beating them at Purdue, that could be the one thing that keeps Indiana out of the college football playoffs this year. Because this is a loss. Because this Purdue team they have had a rough season. It's a bad football team. Sorry, Purdue fans.
Brutally honest.
But this is not a loss. This is the one time in the Old Oaken Bucket rivalry, if you're Indiana, that you do not want to lose to Purdue, because this loss could be severely damaging to your playoff hopes. Because then you would have to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship if you get there, of course, which I think if they win this weekend, they should have that locked up.
Yeah, well, at least the good news is they don't have to travel that far from Bloomington.
Yep. Forgot one more thing before we shift gears. From what I actually remember looking up, if Indiana loses to Purdue this weekend, there is a possibility, however unlikely, that a team like Oregon could find themselves playing Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship if Indiana somehow loses, I think through some kind of tiebreaker procedure, but we'll see what happens. It's a lot to take.
Yep. But hey, these final 2 weeks of college football's regular season, they're going to be fun.
This is it. We're near the end and getting to that playoffs. All right. And speaking of, all right, we're going to stay on college athletics, but now we're shifting to what Tyler Lavalette has deemed Feast Week.
Well, it wasn't just me, it's just ESPN's branding.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not a genius here.
So just to give you guys an idea of what Tyler's referring to, it's ESPN's branding of college basketball November tournaments, not the NCAA March Madness tournament. We're just talking about these mini November tournaments that help teams prepare for the big dance in March.
Maui, Vegas, Bahamas, places like that.
You are. So, and speaking of, Tyler mentioned the Bahamas. That's where Purdue is at. They defeated Memphis last night in the first round of the Bahamas tournament. They are playing tonight in the Bahamas finals against the number 15 team in the land in Texas Tech. That is going to be a really, really tough matchup because Purdue and Texas Tech, they are similar in terms of basketball styles. So this will be a really, really good matchup. I'm just hoping that nobody slips on the floor a whole lot like they did last night on that ballroom basketball court. Literally, the basketball games in this tournament take place in a ballroom. And hopefully, I'm hoping for some cleaner officiating tonight because what I saw last night, sports fans, I was a naughty boy. I think I got myself on Santa's naughty list this year because I dropped a lot of F-bombs last night because the officiating made me so mad last night. Probably some of the worst officiating I've ever seen in a college basketball game, hands down. Hoping for a cleaner action tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, Tyler, you should be glad you weren't around me. The F-bombs were flying.
I think I dodged more than a few bullets.
And all right, so that's where Purdue's at, hoping to win a November tournament for the 5th year in a row. And then for you Michigan fans, you're playing in your team is playing in a unique tournament called the Players Era Championship out in Las Vegas. And there is like so many teams in that tournament. And right now, so they'll play only 2 of the teams. They'll play San Diego State on Monday and then Auburn on Tuesday.
Nice.
So here's the field for this, Tom. This is crazy. So I'm on the teams in the field. You got Notre Dame in this field, Maryland, Rutgers, Tennessee, Houston, Kansas, Oregon, St. John's, Creighton, Iowa State, Gonzaga, UNLV, and Baylor. Wrap your head around that.
Well, of course, not like you're going to face every team, like you mentioned. I mean, the only time I could see Michigan playing Rutgers and Maryland is conference play. So that takes those 2 teams out of the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God. If you're a Michigan fan, you're like, thank God we don't have to play all those teams. That would be a brutal grind. Nope, you're just playing 2 of them. The 2 that Michigan will be playing is San Diego State on Monday, as I mentioned, and, of course, Auburn on Tuesday. And this is Auburn's first year without Bruce Pearl. His son, Steven, took over duties for that team. So
how nice.
Interesting matchup there for Michigan there. But early season action there for Michigan. And so here's a couple other teams. All right, I know we have some Michigan State fans. So
let's give them some love.
Yep, I'll give you guys some love. So MSU they're going to play in a tournament called the Fort Myers Tip-Off. I've been to Fort Myers. It's beautiful out there.
Oh, nice.
So they're playing on November 25th. They'll play Eastern Carolina. And then how about this? Thanksgiving Day, Michigan State, North Carolina. Juicy matchup.
Speaking of MSU, to go back to college football really quickly, they're hosting Maryland at Ford Field on the Saturday after of the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Ooh.
So,
somebody trying to steal some attention away from the big game, I wonder?
No, it's later in the day.
I was only kidding there.
I know.
So there you go. For you MSU fans, big tournament upcoming in Fort Myers. You're going to get to play the Carolinas, and, of course, the big Carolina, North Carolina, that is. That's going to be a great matchup. Rivalry, too. But, I mean, those 2 teams, they got a history that speaks for itself.
NCAA Final National Championship in men's basketball.
Yep, and in Detroit, too.
Yep, same stadium that I just talked about.
Yep. And then the final thing I want to say about this, so huge quad 1 opportunities for all these teams, and one final team I'd like to mention is the Butler Bulldogs. They are playing in the Greenbrier Tip-Off at a place called Colonial Hall at Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, and White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. So for you Butler fans out there, they're going to take on South Carolina in the Greenbrier Tip-Off tournament. And then the winner of that game, as far as I know, I think they get either Northwestern or Virginia. I could be wrong. There's a couple divisions within that tournament, but I don't think all the teams play each other, kind of like in the Players Era tournament. Right. So that's just the lowdown that I have for you guys when it comes to the Feast Week tournament or the early November tournaments. Mm-hmm. So, and with all that being said, now we're finally ready to shift on to this week's Golden Moment in Sports. Tyler Lavalette, take it away.
Okay, we are closing in on Thanksgiving. A time to be thankful to all the family we have, the time to watch some good old American football, eat plenty of food. But if we're back in 2012, we got some of the greatest laughs from a football play gone awfully wrong. Run the clip.
Well, years ago, we talked to Tom Moore, then at Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball.
For those of you who do not know, this legendary play is what we call the butt fumble.
Yeah, as you can see, it was definitely not planned that way whatsoever. A quarterback sneak gone wrong, and
ran into his own guy.
Drops ball, scooped up. Easy touchdown there for the Patriots. En route to an embarrassment for the Jets that night.
Ouch.
Years ago, we talked
yeah. Again, let's watch it again. Boom. And that was the most embarrassing thing of Mark Sanchez's life up until recently.
Yeah. We could go into depth about that, but I won't personally. But for those of you who at the moment feel bad for Mark Sanchez, here's something. I did some research, and in an interview with Pat McAfee, Mark Sanchez was even laughing about this whole thing. So to this day, even Mark Sanchez laughs about this. He's got a sense of humor too. So
I respect him for that and just taking it all in stride. That is how you should live life when you get in these types of moments. Just take it in stride, smile, and have a few laughs like we just had.
Yep. And you know what? Hey, sometimes we got to laugh at ourselves. You know what? I laugh at myself all the time, and sometimes I'll ponder time to time. Why did I do this or X, Y, and Z? What was I thinking there? It's okay to have moments like that.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of those.
Yep. And here's another thing.
People names mixed up for whatever reason.
Here's another thing. As funny as this moment, as funny as the butt fumble is, you know what? Mark Sanchez still deserves some kudos in this regard because he was good enough to make it in the NFL for a couple seasons. He played a couple seasons and with some really good New York Jets teams. And you know what? If you got to be, you think people forget. For moments like these, you still got to be good enough to make it in pro sports in order for moments like these to occur. So, Mark Sanchez deserves some kudos for being good enough not only to play in the NFL for even just a couple of seasons, but to play long enough where we get moments like these. Because without that journey, we can't have just humorously moments like this. And the fact that this happened on Thanksgiving night of all nights, I guess it makes sense that we picked, or Tyler Lavalette, credit to my man Tyler Lavalette, this was his idea.
It was one I had been saving for a long time. And ESPN, when they used to do the not top 10 worst of the worst, it lasted all of 2013 over anything else ESPN would have considered number one for that Friday on Not Top 10. So much it got retired. That is just special in all the infamy.
Absolutely. And you know what? Hey, in conclusion, because Mark Sanchez still laughs at this play from time to time, and the fact that we all got a great laugh out of it, and we got probably one of the most iconic moments in NFL and NFL on Thanksgiving history, it is this week's Golden Moment in Sports.
Real quickly before we sign off, I just want to say that the November 26th will mark the day the NHL was established in 1917. Remember, back in the 2016-17 season was their centennial. So that is why we had it that year.
And big difference between the Blackhawks and the Wings and the Rangers, who are celebrating their centennial seasons this year, as opposed to the NHL, which celebrated their centennial a couple seasons back. So just wanted to help you sports fans understand that. All right. And special thanks to Tyler for indicating that. That's a really cool moment in history.
I was listening on the radio and it got mentioned, so figured, you know what, might as well incorporate that before we forget.
Absolutely. All right, sports fans, that's all we got for this week's Friday Roundtable. Special thanks to my man Tyler Lavalette and to everyone else here at WTV10 for all their hard work. And follow us on Two Guys Talk Sports and other things on YouTube, and Two Guys Talk Sports on Facebook for more Friday Roundtable. Sports fans and to everyone else, we hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Eat well, eat plenty of turkey, enjoy the football, and enjoy time well spent with your loved ones.
Absolutely. Have fun. We will see you back on December 5th.
Yep, and always be thankful. All right, sports fans, this is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Wish you all a good Thanksgiving week, everyone. Take care.